The political conversation in America has once again been shaken by tragedy and controversy. In a wide-ranging interview, former President Donald Trump addressed the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the growing debate over TikTok, political violence, Antifa, and the role of free speech in an increasingly divided nation. His remarks combined personal reflections with policy proposals in a tone both defensive and determined. Trump began by recalling his connection to TikTok and the encouragement he received from his late friend. Donald Trump said, "So I didn't know too much about TikTok, and Charlie actually recommended to me. They said you should go on TikTok, but other people too. And I went on TikTok and I really hit big. I mean, I think I had more views than anybody else in the world, actually." He credited the platform with boosting his popularity among younger voters, noting how unusual it was for a Republican to break through with that demographic. Donald Trump said, "And as you know, I did phenomenally with youth, young people, very young people, young voters that typically are Republican. I think Romney got like 6% or something like that. It wasn't so long ago. And I got tremendous, millions and millions of young kids. Absolutely. Nobody's ever seen anything like it." For Trump, TikTok was both a political tool and a bridge to a generation often beyond Republican reach. But he also condemned the darker side of online culture, recalling the hateful comments that followed Kirk's death. Donald Trump said, "I saw on Fox and I saw in others some of the quotes that people made that were so horrible. And you say, well, where did these people live? Where did they come from? They said horrible things about the death of Charlie. And I guess we just have sick people out there." The conversation then turned to Trump's recent executive order on political violence and hate speech with a focus on Antifa. Asked whether the group represented a terrorist movement inside the United States, Trump was emphatic. Donald Trump said, "They are." Do you believe that there is a vast terrorist movement in the United States that people need to be aware of? And is it responsible for Charlie Kirk's killing, for the attempts on your life, for these CEOs that we saw in New York City? Is there something people need to understand? The former president then pledged decisive action. Donald Trump said, "But in the meantime, we're going to do a big thing with respect to Antifa. It's a sick group. I mean, very, very sick group. We have a lot of things. They love burning the American flag. I think it's terrible that they burn the American flag. We're going in and we're saying it incites riots, and therefore you go to jail for 1 year if you burn the American flag." Trump described footage of flag burning that he said triggered riots, insisting that this would justify criminal penalties. He maintained that Antifa thrives on incitement and warned of deeper networks financing such groups. Donald Trump said, "Yeah, you're going to find out, and we're going to find out in great detail." And it surprised me that Biden wouldn't have done it, because it really became hot over the last 3-4 years. It surprised me that Biden wouldn't do it. But then as I got to know him, first of all, he didn't call the shots. He wasn't calling the shots. But as we got to see what was happening in Biden's group, Antifa plays perfectly for them. On the issue of free speech, Trump faced questions about whether his crackdown might violate constitutional protections. He rejected that concern, pointing to examples of what he considered madness and incitement. And Donald Trump said, "It's interesting. I watch your show and I watch others and I see people saying things. They're crazy. These people are crazed lunatics. Even the way they'll answer, it's like you'll see them and the things they say are really bad, but they look crazy. They're almost crazed. Maybe they're drugged out. Maybe there's some other problem." He recounted the moment when a man desecrated a memorial for Charlie Kirk. Donald Trump said, "Did you see the guy the other day run through all the flowers are put down in loving memory of Charlie? This maniac runs through the flowers, kicking them all down and stepping and stomping on them. And fortunately, somebody grabbed him and gave him a rap." For Trump, such acts highlight the blurred line between free expression and criminal conduct. He noted the professional signs used in protests, questioning who was funding and organizing them. He mentioned financier George Soros as a name frequently raised, suggesting further investigation was needed. The interview also addressed recent assassination attempts, including one targeting Trump himself. He described the attacker in vivid cinematic terms. Donald Trump said, "By the way, think about Mannion. He shot someone in the back. As clear as you're looking at me or I'm looking at you, he looked like a pure assassin." I was surprised, actually, you would have thought this guy would have been at a central casting in the movie, and maybe he was. He lamented that such figures were even being glorified online, with young women expressing admiration for them. Trump called this phenomenon a sickness that demanded urgent study and accountability. Speaking as both a parent and grandparent, he warned families about the dangers of online radicalization and excessive time in digital subcultures. He admitted he refused to view the graphic images of Kirk's assassination. Donald Trump said, I specifically said, you know, they had it all teed up. They said, you want to, I don't want to say, I don't want to remember Charlie that way. This was such a good guy. Trump described Kirk as a rare political talent with a magnetic appeal to young audiences. Donald Trump said, I actually said, Charlie, someday I think you have a good chance of being president. I think you will be president, maybe. And I think he would have had a great chance. He was very compelling. I've never seen anybody capture a group of people like he captured youth. As the discussion wound down, Trump was asked whether a president bears responsibility for uniting the country. His answer reflected both frustration and optimism. Donald Trump said, so I get this question so much, and when you see the kind of hatred out there, it's like unbelievable. And it's probably always been there. We just don't realize it. But I saw it starting with President Obama. I saw tremendous hatred. I saw levels that we've never seen before. And with Biden, it got far worse, just far worse. He argued that unity would come only through prosperity. Donald Trump said, what I would say is this. Success brought people together, and I think the only thing that's going to bring them is tremendous success, and that includes economic success. I was getting calls from people, Martha, that you would not, if I told you some of the people wanting to get together, wanting to have lunch, wanting to talk, it was amazing, actually. And I say it loud and clear, I think the only thing that's going to bring us together is tremendous success. Throughout the interview, Trump returned to memories of Charlie Kirk, not just as a friend, but as a symbol of youthful energy in the conservative movement. His admiration was clear, and his anger at Kirk's assassination palpable. He emphasized the need to investigate the networks behind political violence, the dangers of unchecked extremism, and the role of leadership in restoring stability. As the interview concluded, he thanked his host and reiterated his message of unity through achievement. Donald Trump said, Mr. President, thank you very much for your time. Good to be with you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. The conversation left no doubt. For Trump, the path to healing America runs through economic success, tough policies on political violence, and a refusal to back down in the face of tragedy and division.